This is the Aftermarket Radio Network.
Welcome, Speak Up listeners. Speak Up. Effective Communication is the show on the Aftermarket Radio Network aimed at improving your communication and leadership skills. Today, we are talking about AI, that is artificial intelligence. And with me today is an authentic intelligence. Our guest will be Dan Vance from Shopdog Marketing. Now, I have known Dan for a few years now, and it was actually at ASTA Expo over in North Carolina back in 2023 that I first heard Dan speak on the promise and peril of AI. And I saw him deliver a presentation on the topic again at the Institute's Mars Marketing Conference. That was over in beautiful Ogden, Utah. That was earlier this year. It doesn't even feel like it was this year. But Dan, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, no, happy to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, before we dive into our conversation, I do want to take just a moment and thank our sponsors who make this show possible. Let's hear from them right now. Looking to take your shop to the next level of quality service, team culture, and overall profitability? At the Institute, we provide personalized coaching that aligns with your goals of financial stability, excellent customer service, and employee satisfaction. Our priority is helping you establish significant and sustainable progress. We work with you to create strategies that reduce the stress of running your business, improve your quality and performance, and optimize your profitability. Experience the benefits of professional coaching by visiting wearetheinstitute.com/business-assessment. Hey friends, as you know, I'm a proud member of the AutoFlow team, and let me tell you, we've changed how business is done for auto shops everywhere. We support your client experience before, during, and after the work is done. Imagine this: timely updates sent directly to your clients, branded digital vehicle inspections, and seamless communication from start to finish. That's why shops love AutoFlow. And hey, with those 5-star reviews rolling in, you'll wonder how you ever managed without us. Take an important next step and take your auto shop to the next level. Visit www.autoflow.com. Get on board with an AutoFlow trial. Are you ready to meet your perfect auto repair shop management software partner? Well, say farewell to the days of transactional relationships and hello to a true partnership that elevates your business. The number one all-in-one solution is AutoLeap. You're not just getting software, you're gaining a dedicated ally committed to your success. AutoLeap will help you sell more, save time, and delight your customers at every turn. From scheduling appointments to creating estimates, generating invoices, managing technicians, and seamlessly syncing with QuickBooks to keep your records updated, experience the difference a true partnership makes. Visit Autoleap.com and book a demo today. Autoleap, your trusted partner for success. Want to see your auto repair shop thrive? Are you looking to drive more customers to your auto repair shop? Let Shopdog Marketing be your guide. Our customer-first approach, combined with AI-driven creative content, ensures top rankings. Dominate mobile-first and voice search with our specialized expertise. Reach out to Shopdog Marketing today and start growing your business. Don't miss out on this chance to boost your business. Visit shopdogmarketing.com. Inbound has exclusively served independent auto repair shops with expert communication solutions for years. Our robust VoIP platform ensures you stay connected while our industry-leading AI analytics take your business to the next level. We provide the tools you need to understand your customers and optimize every interaction. Choose Inbound for proven expertise and unmatched innovation. Visit callinbound.com and discover the difference we can make. Okay, we're back here with my friend Dan Vance from Shopdog Marketing. Dan, I've heard you talk on the topic of AI a few times now, and I think you deliver a lot of, I guess, you bring me comfort on this topic because it can be an uncomfortable one. A lot of strong opinions. I have strong opinions. Lots of people have strong opinions on AI. It's a little scary, and it's also extraordinarily useful. you had this class, the promise or peril is, am I saying that class right?
Promise
And peril.
and perils.
It's both things, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's start with the peril because that's more fun. What's going to happen with AI taking over?
I think, first of all, people should know that AI didn't just emerge out of nowhere. It's been in the works for a long time. And then when it kind of made its rollout through the company OpenAI, or we know it better as kind of like ChatGPT,
Sure.
that's when everybody started saying, we're in, and we've got an AI product.
Yeah.
And a lot of voices at the time were just like, oh, hey, time out. What are we doing? This is moving really fast. And do we know this is what we want? And people were saying AI is going to make the sea levels rise and going to eliminate mankind or create nuclear war.
Yeah.
Like the worst versions you can imagine, AI is going to do it, to just more kind of like has a human effect, like we stop thinking because the machine learning thinks for us. We stop working because robots will like service our ever needs. And so there's a spectrum of like lifestyle that may or may not happen to like this really dynamic end of all things because of the old movie
I think it would be fair to
iRobot.
say. Yeah, it would be fair to say. Would you agree that it is the end of things as we know them?
Totally.
AI is going to completely change our dynamics in communication. Like I was talking about this with a few people, and I look at it this way. Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends, Influence People. Loyal listeners of the show will hear me reference this book regularly. And in his day, when that book was written, what did it mean to call on someone? I mean, this was an era when that book was written that people would be dressed nice to go out to business. The streets are busy. Everyone's dressed nice, maybe even a hat on and all that stuff. And to call on a business meant to go to the business with a deliberate effort, and whatever transpired in the conversation there. A call was a physical going to. And that was replaced much more so with obviously telephones and everything else. And that's really the sequence on it. Go from calling being an in-person meeting to calling to be a from distance, still synchronous conversation. And then it moved to what? It moved to text messages. And then what? Automated text messages, pre-programmed. And then it's now going into digital messaging that is AI generated. And what I see happening is just people are being one step removed. And soon we're going to have our AI assistant talking to a business's AI assistant, and no humans are going to engage. And that's my biggest fear. It isn't nuclear war. It's that we're going to have people somehow interacting without interacting.
It's kind of a strange thought, isn't it?
It is.
There was definitely a time when the guys that had human capital, like they were good networkers, they understood their business, they were a resource when people were like, hey, how do you do this? Or what's a good practice for my business? Human capital, those guys, we all...
It's a great term. So human capital, let's poke at that just a little bit. That's a term I don't hear very regularly. And I look at this in the context of, does it mean the same thing to you as relationship capital or relational capital?
Yeah,
this is something that
who I know, it's what I know. And all of that was embodied in people. And professionally, you worked 30 years, you knew lots of people, you understood your industry, you were a go-to resource. And that's why a lot of those guys went into the consulting business. But there was a lot more consulting businesses in my young profession than I see today. With the internet took kind of like that human capital understanding and the connections, social media and the internet and web pages. And the criminy, you could figure out who the president and the board of directors were for some of the largest institutions with a quick little search on Google in the late 90s. Easy. That was an easy thing. So the evolution of the internet, the gathering of that information, that data has kind of taken us to like stage 2, which is machine learning, our interaction with it from the window of what we call AI. But we do lose that human capital. Like, why would I bother to network if I can just do a quick search? Or do brainstorming on AI.
Yeah.
Why would I develop like a team?
Yeah, it's interesting. Developing AI, machine learning, I think, is a term that a lot of people don't realize. This one's been around for quite a while. Autoflow, I mean, you can teach a machine simple things for service reminders and those sort of things, and any systems that leverage that sort of thing. AI, machine learning is a little bit different than what we're into right now with these, what would be called the large language learning models. So how is that for the ChatGPT type things?
Well, machine learning is kind of like where it began. And there was always kind of a goal for where we're going and what we're experiencing with AI, and AI is not it. We're still evolving. There's more that those people that are leading in those industries are kind of like visionary to. But machine learning was essentially gathering all the data, all the search inputs. Do you remember the days of 611 on your mobile phone? It was kind of a directory service, but it was also a learning mechanism. And they were applying algorithms and they were studying human behavior through 611. And then they just disappeared. Well, that's because new technology came on and they just started tracking everything instead of through 611. But
yeah, tracking everything.
I think the big break was with the translation. They were working on translation services.
Sure. Okay. A good use too.
Yeah. And a lot of people that are bilingual, no other language, they tell you, oh, yeah, that's okay. It's pretty good, but it doesn't know nuances. And
correct.
Right.
Yeah.
But then
a very formal version of that language, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then have you ever heard of the Tower of Babel moment? They call it a Tower of Babel. It's a real thing that happened. They were engineering and working on human language, and they had this program that was working on language and translation and getting better at it. And they would come in and they'd update the code based on this like programming to kind of evaluate, make an adjustment to the language to get to that nuance. It wasn't very long, and they would come in the morning and the algorithm had kind of like sorted that out on its own. It didn't need human input anymore. And so it was all programming, and it was all based on predicting, right? It wasn't really like human intelligence the way we think of it.
Yeah.
It was like more of a predictive model. But it was huge. It was so huge. With that language breakthrough, that Google started shifting as a company, and they're not alone, but they started hiring language professionals, people that had PhD in language and human communication. And you think about the dynamics of somebody that lives in our world, but somebody far away where their traditions are different, the way they communicate, the way they greet. So they started applying this high-level class of, person that really understands that into software. And AI is really just a testing platform for them to test those principles that they built into the software. So when we interact with AI, in a way, it like stands back and it watches what our prompts are, and when it gives a response, how we react to that. Is that good, bad? Is it getting to resolution? And so it's, in a way, AI is super cool and powerful, and it's doing amazing things for us right now, Craig.
Yes.
But it's still learning.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the interaction with AI, because this is where I think most people are just coming to their introduction of it. AI, what is it? Artificial intelligence, what's it do? What's it capable of? And the first thing that we're being shown it's capable of is in a chat type experience where it's imitating human interaction, but it's sort of spitting out data at us at the same time. We're supposed to dialogue with this machine, it seems like. And like you said, I mean, this is also training the machine at this point, especially when you tell it if the response is good, bad, or otherwise. Yeah. But the perception that people have is that AI is something that impersonates a human interaction, is the first thing I see. And what do I see people do with it immediately? The immediate applications that I'm seeing people do is like, it'll rephrase my poorly written statement into a better statement. It will take and do even a response for someone. Like I think one area that we've discussed before that people are using it now, shop owners, business leaders, business owners in general, whoever's responsible for responding to reviews for the organization are having an AI type response to those reviews. And what's really funny, I think, is that there's also some criticism that reviews, if you're shopping on Amazon or other things and now that, you might be actually reading reviews that were written by AI itself. And so you have AI responding to these things, you have AI doing this. And I was listening to a story recently, I think it was on NPR or one of the news sites, and they were interviewing a communications professional, and he was recognizing that, yeah, we're actually at an era right now where we might see people, when it comes to reviews in particular, not read them as much or even care about the responses anymore, because the assumption is going to start to shift more and more and more and more towards, oh, it's probably AI generated, both the review and the response. And so it's just a pure quantification of how many good reviews there are, and less interest in going into the details altogether. And that's a break of trust.
It's not a good thing. Our psyche depends on this social proof. And that's why when we go to the restaurant, we always ask, like, what's the thing most ordered? Or we go to places and like, what do you sell the most of? And because we want to be part of this bigger band of decision making instead of being isolated. That's social proof. We depend on that very heavily. That's why reviews have such a high impact. So when I'm reading a review, I really do need that perspective of the owner and the shop, because what it tells me is if things go south, this is how they're going to treat me. I need to know, like, I'm in a safe place with them. Like, if it doesn't work out, they're still going to be nice, fair. They're going to do the right thing. People are like, that's just written by AI. That doesn't tell me what I need to know.
Exactly.
I don't have that social proof.
Exactly, because what else is it telling you? And right now, I think my AI radar is pretty good. Not perfect. I'll have a story for you in a bit on that. But the feeling I get if I took time as a client to type my true thoughts of a business and I got something back that feels like it was AI, that sucks. I feel like that I'm not really looking for a response anyways, in most cases, really. But the fact that someone takes the time to say something nice and we can't take the time to say something back, that just feels off. Like, there's some things that efficiency doesn't matter as much as authenticity. And I think that's what we're trading with the AI. At least the tendencies I'm seeing right now is we're looking at AI as being very efficient, and I see it as not being very authentic.
No, I think that's right on. I think shop owners are using AI to respond to reviews because it's fast, it's eloquent. Like, that thing just wrote something that would take me a half an hour to write. and so they don't put in the effort on it. But if we break that up and we talk about, what's the human psychology here? What's that person really need when they're looking at a review response? And they need validation that you're not going to be a tiger. And
correct.
Some shops are tigers, and that's why they struggle.
Yes.
But other shops need to make the case like, hey, this was a one-off. We messed up. We took care of the customer. We fixed it right. And we would do the same for you.
Yeah.
And AI is not going to write that.
No. And partly because AI can be trained easier than a person to recognize that in a response to review, it isn't about justifying your previous actions at all. It's just about showing you're listening and that you're willing to have a conversation to make it right. And we forget that very quickly in this business because when you get a bad review, we understand it burns, it hurts. My goodness.
This is one example, right? Reviews are so critical to our shop. I mean, more than the star rating. I mean, sometimes shops are just only talking about, I got a 4.9 and look at my shiny star. And I'm just like, that's just scratching the surface of the power of reviews to build your business with the algorithms, as well as with people that are thinking about coming to you for the first time. And implementing AI is problematic, as we're talking about. The same thing would apply to my website or other communication that I'm sending out to people, maybe through email or other functions, which is easy to do with AI. You have to step back and you have to just say, am I losing my ability to be persuasive with people by connecting with them on a human level instead of an AI level.
Yeah, and I was having this conversation internally with our team at Autoflow, like blogs. Like I tell them, like even though AI can write a compelling blog on a topic that we feed it, not over my dead body will we ever publish a thing that was written by AI. Not happening. I cannot justify it because to me, the long-term strategy, the purpose of what blogs always were, and I think blogging potentially is going down by the wayside for this reason already, but you're actually perpetuating its decline because I don't believe when I read a blog today, especially if the author's not on there in their face and it sounds like their voice, although AI is good at covering all those things up. My assumption is that it is generated by AI is my default already. Now it has been strong enough for long enough now that is the assumption that I have, especially when it's a neatly, tightly organized instead of a little bit sloppier or sometimes rambling bit on things, because AI will put together the argument the way an argument should be put together. And as people, we usually don't. This is Craig and Dan having a conversation unscripted.
That's why Google's really doubled down on this idea of what quality content really looks like. And they have an acronym. You'll hear people talking about this more and more because it's the thing. It's called EAT: expertise, authority, and trust. Somebody in the business would know, like, how often you should be monitoring your brakes, what kind of right parts you should be using, something that can handle high heat or intense cold and still function properly and safely for you and your family. Those are all experience and authority. And then the trust aspect is we've been doing this for 15 years. We stand by our work. We have warranty to fill in those gaps where just weird thing will happen, and we got you. So AI could do that if you gave it those kind of instructions, but it never can replace you, the shop guy, with being out there every day, doing breaks, coming across all the weird things you come across. And that's
so that E acronym is interesting to me because that makes sense. And that's how it's been for how long now? Has that been what Google's looking for in their algorithms? It's probably predates AI.
We think they've been doing that for a long time, but publicly since AI has rolled out, they've been doing the timeout thing, like this content doesn't meet our content our policy guidelines for content, and then they'll outline EAT in there. If you're into reading that stuff, it's all online under Google's content guidelines, but just for the ease, because you don't want to do that. You want to just listen to Craig and I.
Yeah, well, when I look at that acronym, Dan, and we start busting that out, like expertise, all right, our audience, experts in their fields, and that expertise is what gives the authority to speak on any given topic if there is any trust that is to be had. But the AI, I really think, is going to be the missing component here. And as AI being artificial, it's authenticity. Again, I believe that human capital you discussed earlier, human capital is going to be bought only with authenticity. And authenticity is getting harder to prove. That we really wrote this. This is really what it is, and this is accurate data. And that's something that even in the Autoflow side, Chris and I did a webinar a little while back related to some DVI components, getting a touch of AI in there. And I'd like to think that we're pretty responsible in how we leverage AI. It isn't just to change how people communicate or make easier to say things in general, but how we use data and managing keys to make sure data integrity is intact. Well, that's really hard because shops that have a line item, for example, in their DVI, we don't have universal standards in the industry on that. And then they call it a different thing in their shop management system. And we have to manage keys in between that and try to chain our own model on what is accurate and what is right in all of this. And that takes automotive experts with real authority on this to develop a model that can be trusted. And that's tough.
Oh, right on, Craig.
Yeah,
that's right. Have you ever seen, like, in the news feeds, like you'll see a story, it's got like a physician. The headline is, "The 5 things as a doctor I would never eat."
Yes, that sort of stuff. I assume it's just garbage, right?
Yeah. But it's so attractive to people because they're like, well, a doctor would know. He looks good and healthy, and I want to look like that. So that comes back to like this psyche of what motivates us, social proof. Like we give somebody expertise and so on and so forth. So there's definitely, if you want to say with perils, we need to be much better at making judgments about like what's really real and what's not.
Yeah. And
Truth.
be careful about if those judgments are going to come back on us and how that feels when it comes out. I had this recent experience. So, dude, I was out in Washington for a conference, and I rented a vehicle. They gave me an electric car, and it was some random thing with budget. They gave me a Subaru Solterra, which I actually really enjoyed driving. It was a great little car. And my wife and I are going to be in the market for a vehicle here soon, and she's never driven an EV. It's pretty cool. And so the thing is that I searched for it. And what do you know, algorithms, once you start searching on a car, they start showing you promotions for things. And hey, there's a $50 promotion to go and do a test drive at your local dealer. So, hey, whatever. All right, cool. Signed up for this. Now I know this is all throwing my stuff and information into a lead. And sure enough, I get a response from the dealer a few days later from an Ellie. And I responded to it initially. And then when I saw the reply address, like this was from an address not related to the dealership. And I was like, oh, okay. Oh, nice. All right. So it's just an AI thing. And it was really easy then to trip it up with, it was good. When I replied again, it asked me questions about my current vehicles and how they used in a very conversational tone. And I gave it plenty of details of my teenage drivers and all this sort of stuff, just a few short paragraphs. And then the next response, it was really funny, totally gave away that this is an inauthentic experience. Is like, okay, we've rescheduled your appointment for whatever. It's like, it wasn't even a part of my conversation, and it was to the same time as my original appointment. Where the story gets interesting though for me is when I walked into the dealership, I was very cordially greeted by a very effective salesperson, a good guy, just all the things right in terms of what you would expect from a dealership experience. I mentioned my conversation with Ellie. I deliberately just lay that out there, and because I wanted to see what his response was. And he was really good. And he says, oh, yeah, no, that's the AI thing there. It's like, okay, I thought so. But yeah, no one else replied from that message. So I wasn't sure what to make of it. And I said, oh, you know what? Let me look into that. And he did. And the guy who the lead went to was on vacation and couldn't reply himself, but it never kicked it over to another thing. And so there's this complete breakdown between all the things this thing's designed to do. I don't know, I'm an affable guy. I like to have that dialogue and conversation ahead of time. For me, it's an experience more than anything else, because I have no intention of buying a new car. But the element of authenticity, fortunately, was held up by the person I came into contact with. But everything before that was supposed to feel like it without saying so.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in this space that are talking about companies should have their own guidelines for AI, and how you use it in your business. And it should be a disclosure on your website, just like a privacy disclosure.
Oh, that's great advice, Dan. Yeah.
And I think that will help a lot of businesses that are going to try to implement these things. From a business standpoint, it's efficiency. Right.
That's correct. I get
better, faster, cheaper, and dealerships are going to experiment with that. It's going to boil down to the auto repair industry. Some auto repair shops are already using AI chat responsives.
This efficiency thing keeps coming up, Dan. And I think this is where one of my initial things that are just rubbing against me the wrong way on this. It's like when I filled out a lead form, I had no expectation that a person's going to immediately jump on that. And yet I'm getting an email response at a weird hour of the night now. That is not in my expectation. And in fact, the prior experience of if I am at a weird hour of the night filling out something and get a response, I'm assuming it's an overseas thing, which traditionally is not always a great experience due to language barriers. And I understand why people operate their businesses with we got to jump on it now before they go somewhere else type of a thing. But is that a real expectation from the consumers? Is the demand actually coming from them to have this quickness? Maybe in certain things I get it, but man, I'm just not that guy. Maybe it's just me. I'm off. Yeah.
No, I love this idea of what makes us do certain things, kind of like our human psychology. And I do know that most of us, we just hate change. I always tell the story about when indoor plumbing was kind of becoming a thing. There was a lot of people that were opposed to it. That's a terrible idea.
Yes, it is.
The
Yeah,
toilet
doing that in the
my
house. What are you thinking?
Yeah, that's should be out in the back 20. So,
Get that out of here.
so I think change is really hard, and I think that we can adopt and adapt technology because there's some really great things about AI, but there's
Well, this is the
definitely
thing, is
displays.
what I was hoping the AI was doing in that context was purely this, providing the person that I will be talking to with actionable and useful data so they're ready to have a good conversation with me. That's my mindset, but I'm in customer service and I think about it from the opposite direction all the time. So I'm not just thinking about it as a consumer, but I'm thinking about if I were that sales guy, here are the things that I would hope for out of an ideal person walking in that door. And if they've already provided me this information and I can use that information to help tailor that experience based on their real needs, that's going to be a better experience. And if we're dropping the ball on the AI being able to get that, then AI is failing at its fundamental job, which is to manage data well. It isn't to have that false interaction. It's to manage the data that we're getting out of an interaction. And if we can't give it to a person in the right way, that's a crap system. It's just not doing what it should be doing, because AI is good and right and nice to have for managing data that people can use in conversation with other people. That's how I want to see it leveraged, but that's not what I'm seeing.
Well, I'm going to blow your mind, Craig, because where this is going is it's going to be more personalized than ever. And the interactions in the future are going to be catered to your preferences. And what I get is going to be completely different. It's going to be catered to my preferences. So all the things that we do digitally, the questions we ask, the kind of like the process of researching, the way we like responses, what we accept, what we don't, that's all data. It's being sorted by 10,000 computers in one office building. And in the future, maybe the very new future, when you make a phone call, AI is going to answer it and say, "Hello, Mr. Vance. We are excited that you called. Are you ready for another stay with us? Or can I connect you immediately with the CEO, John Smith," or whatever. Those personalized experiences are coming with AI, and it's kind of blocky and uncomfortable right now, but it's learning. What is it learning? What's the goal?
Yeah.
And it is to provide a more seamless digital experience, interacting with us in a way that is persuasive and good for us.
Sure. And I've seen some of those examples, Dan. And what startles me about some of the AI assistant type things that are on the receiving end of a call is, it's better in terms of an experience than a poorly trained receptionist of some sort, right? It's better. And you have to train it once. Well, it took a long time to train these sort of models, I'm sure. But now you've given it the guidelines once, and it will honor those guidelines, and it will do the job the same way all the time, free of its own emotions and other good day, bad day type of stuff. And I get it. I do. I really do. I just really hate it when it's supposed to pretend that it is a person.
Yep.
And that's what I'm not seeing yet. So hopefully that changes too. And it's like, hey, I'm the AI assistant for this hotel or service or whatever. And if you are already a guy like me who frankly doesn't mind and kind of appreciates those sloppier, real human interactions, I say, no, give me a person. And I want the person. I'm going to be that guy 90% of the time, unless your people suck. So that's what this show is trying to help people not do. This is the last human skill that machines could ever take away, is our ability to communicate effectively. And it just doesn't resonate with me to have a world. I don't even need it to be that efficient in this world. I'm happier going out and having human interactions. So, dude, I'm that guy, Dan. I don't like the change yet. I like the technology. It's exciting, but I don't like the change.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But for people listening to this, you should take this as like, I got to be careful. I got to be wise about how I implement some of these AI tools, because for the sake of efficiency, I don't want to take potentially good people like Dan or Craig that are going to bounce because they're like, no, I want a real experience.
Yeah. You don't think I'm worth this? Oh,
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. And your higher end, better customers are going to demand more of a like white glove experience that can't come from AI.
It can't. Yeah. And I think, Dan, and you tell me if you agree with this, I think the pendulum is shifting right now in terms of technology, digital and online, everything. And yet it's going to swing back the other way. And I think we're starting to see it with Generation Z already, where they're valuing more synchronous communication. Even a video conference like a call we're having right now is synchronous and as good or as close to good as in-person gets. But that in-person impact, I think we're about to enter an age where we don't really trust what we're seeing online as being authentic. Even images and videos are potentially totally not real. That means the only way we know if something is real is if we are in person experiencing it at the same time together. And that is where people will want to spend most of their time moving forward after this next stage passes. I hope that's what happens. But
yes, especially for local services.
Yeah.
Right. For Amazon, we're just like, oh, they made that a lot easier.
Sure.
But where I want to go eat, or if I've got questions, or I want to get my vehicle serviced, or I want this, or I want that in my local market.
Yeah.
I want a completely different experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, I think, the last point we have time for today too, Dan, that I would bring into this. The AI models themselves, that is power, and that is true power of a form that we have not seen. The people who control the models that we're using, especially even if you're using someone else's technology, like you're probably contributing to their model, even if they say they're not. I don't know enough on that.
Too.
Oh my goodness. But an example, I was trying to research one of the lesser known candidates for the recent local elections in my hometown. And one of the candidates I was trying to just get some basic information on, I couldn't find anything on this person when I was typing it in Google. And not a conspiracy theorist type at all, but like, I thought like it should be really easy. Like I can't vote for this person because their SEO sucks now, evidently, but couldn't find their campaign site to save.
Or is there something really devious going on at Google? They block
Correct. Like imagine at a larger scale, because AI models, if there's an objective for these organizations that have it, like I hope they're good.
They're manipulated.
Yeah. Yes.
Totally
very
plausible. That's where the whole rising seas, and that's where all that thinking comes from, is because people can manipulate it, and then society doesn't know any different.
And you won't be able to search for any different knowledge in this world that we're heading towards soon too. Yeah. There
is an application that I would love to kind of just throw in before we run out. And that is that one of the ways we use it a lot is for brainstorming. We might have a site that's ranking in position 5 on page 1. Because of the other companies that are ranking, it's unlikely that they would go to position 4 or position 3, obviously 1 being the one you really want. But I'm stuck at 5. So I can go into AI and I can do some brainstorming about changing the headline that you see when you do a search that can be more persuasive. So I don't change my position in 5, but I get more traffic because I've refined that text, that headline. It's just on the front of it, that's such a simple thing. But if that brings you another 5 or 10 people a day, that can change your business a lot.
Absolutely.
So agencies should be using AI. Auto shops can use it to brainstorm, like, how can we create more team cohesiveness or better processes in our team? And you can use it to brainstorm and get to some ideas where you start applying your own mind here, saying, yeah, we're going to do this. Like it just took you from an idea place to something where your mind says, this is how I'm going to run our business differently. Brainstorming.
Yeah, brainstorming is a fun thing for people to do too. I love those interactions when I'm doing it, but getting that many people in a room sometimes to focus on one idea, it's harder to do all the time. We get so busy.
With AI, you got 10,000 people in a group. They're all cooperating.
Yeah, no, I see it. And the accessibility for it makes it very attractive. And it does. It spits out some very useful things sometimes. And that's I guess, where I would put a little asterisk on even some of my opinions on this. Having AI assist you with some elements of an idea by itself isn't an inauthentic thing. If you are engaging what it gave you, reading it yourself as well, and making sure it is aligned with your objectives.
Yeah. Don't be a copy and paste guy. Use your brains and look at it and just say, that's a really good idea. And then kind of pencil it out. Like, how do I make this better? You'll have some great experiences. And I think every marketing company today should be using, experimenting, comfortable with where AI is, because it's not going away.
Yeah, and I think that's a relevant message to anybody listening, period, on anything that's related to your role in communicating with people today. Understand the strengths and weaknesses of AI and assess and really engage your feelings with it. Because my feelings I've shared a few times here, and it's scuzzy. I don't enjoy it, but I'm the kind of guy that goes and loves and experiencing my Toastmaster Club meetings where I'm talking in a group of people, and I love that sort of engagement. And my biggest fear is that we're in this realm where we're completely out of sync with what we will do when we're in person, and it can't be that way in this world. It shouldn't be, unless you're living it fully online, which is probably not very healthy.
Yeah, and you make a great point, because we need the conflict of strong beliefs like, Dan, I love you, I support you, I'm with you, but let's think about what we're talking here, versus AI is always going to essentially agree with you.
Yes, I've done this before. I said, this is a terrible response to my prompt. Play with it a little bit. Go on ChatGPT. It's free. You can do this for free, folks. You go on OpenAI's, go on ChatGPT, type it, ask it questions and things, and tell it. Engage with some of those responses. Say, this isn't correct at all. And it's very agreeable most of the time. It's quite comical.
Right, so it'll make you feel great. You can go in there and say, I'm having a hard day. Say some things that'll make me feel better.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. Oh, and that goes right into another realm. Yeah. There's people giving recordings of their loved one's voice who have passed, and they're having it try to do this. And this
that stuff's a little on the fringe. You don't need to do that.
It really is. But what scares me the most is the fact that a little sample of someone's voice, and here we are on the air, it'd be very easy for someone to give this to an AI thing and put something together that sounds like Craig, sounds like Dan, having it say things that are not real. And they can do the same with video. Shoot, it was done with a Tom Cruise documentary from Russia or something like that. I got to go look at that story closer. I haven't seen the results, but it was.
Have you seen the meme of Biden and Trump and Putin in a band?
No.
It's unbelievable. Like,
look real enough.
It's AI. You know it's
because
AI,
of the context, of course. Yes.
It's good enough that you're just like, freak, that's really amazing. Because the guy's playing the drum just right on. And Biden doing the piano and Trump doing the guitar, and you're just like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, what I have seen is some other things, not with famous people, but of an AI security camera footage of somebody doing something horrible. And it was completely fake. It was AI altogether. But the types of stories that you can tell to get people upset and trigger emotions before they and it's already happened today with real images and stories. Anyways, people will engage the context all wrong for various things until they learn the detail of the story. People aren't going to go and do their due diligence and find out if it's an AI image or something else on there. And gosh, Dan, I made this point a while ago too, as someone who does a lot with digital vehicle inspections. I run into this right now. Images and videos are great for transparency, but I think we have this tiny window of time where that's still going to be true, and that's right now. And soon we're no longer going to be in a time frame where the images and videos are believed. That's scary.
Well, that's because we communicate faster with human and images, and we're moving to a day where search engines are going to be just images. Like, I don't know exactly how it's going to look, but you can already see it. Images like crazy. Compared to 5 years ago, no pictures. Like the shopping stuff. So pictures are a big thing. That's another like micro dynamic that AI is going to change all.
That's rough. Oh boy. Well, there'll be more talk on AI as we go in. I think it's an inescapable reality. That Pandora's box has been opened. This is out in the world now, and it will not leave the world again. So it's going to change things, folks. But I think the emphasis I would want to say, and I think that, Dan, what I appreciate about your talks on this too is, especially in your class where you're introducing shop owners, sometimes for the first time they've heard of that AI, but they're so busy with their day, they haven't really engaged it. And so surprisingly, we're several years into this technology. People don't have any experience engaging with themselves, have zero idea what it is. And it's a wow thing. And I think a lot of solutions are being marketed to those same folks. Like, hey, look what AI can do for you. And it's it's a simple ChatGPT type thing for making a response to your customer in a text message. And it's like this wow factor element of it. It seems so great, but it's about to become very simple.
That's a great point, Craig. People are going to use AI for efficiency, but not really ferret out all of the pros and cons to it. And hence, the promise and perils of AI.
It's a good title.
Come from that foundational idea that you'll fare much better in this new future.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, well, it'll keep coming up. But hey, folks, remember to keep listening up on this topic too, because I have to believe the last skill those machines will ever take from us is our interpersonal communication skills. In fact, they can't, unless we start having a real life avatar someday going out into the real world for us, pretending to be us. Oh, no, but virtually, I know that's already discussed too. Golly, I could do a rabbit trail in this Zoom avatar that'll be able to attend meeting and make decisions for me. No, thanks.
Exactly. He'll buy that.
Brother. Nope, won't buy it. No, I'm the tough sell on AI, and I'm going to do some more talks on this with some folks on this too, Dan. But hey, thank you. Is there any other final comments you want to leave people with, encourage them on this point?
Well, I would definitely say it's an exciting time. It's a balanced approach, right? Just don't believe everything you're getting, but dig in and start playing around with it. That's the best place to kind of know what you like and what you don't like. From our standpoint, it's going to bring you new customers when it's used properly. You have the right kind of disclosures. You don't have mumbo jumbo word salad stuff on your website. Those companies that don't fall for that stuff are going to be the leaders, and they're going to grow like crazy, just like Amazon did during the COVID shutdowns. AI is going to lead a new generation of shops into profitability they've never seen.
It is an exciting technology, and we do need to pay attention to it. And Dan, I think that's a great point to leave on. So, hey, thanks again, Dan. You speak very well on this topic. I appreciate your calm and measured approach to it, really, because I could get amped up on this stuff.
Oh, we should have done some amp. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we will be amped up on it plenty of times. So I look forward to talking further. And especially as certain things come out, if there's something interesting that you want to hear, and this is for our listeners too, if you have questions for me or for my prior guests or for Dan, please send those questions to me at speakup@craigoneil.net. That's an email. Speakup@Craig, Craig, O'Neil, Oneill, 2 L's. .net. We appreciate hearing from you on anything that can help you. If there's more topics you want to learn about or hear about here on this show, or if there's something you want to come on the show and speak up on yourself. And also, please remember to listen up to our other aftermarket radio network shows. We have Carm Capriato's Remarkable Results Radio, Matt Fonslow's Diagnosing the Aftermarket A through Z, Hunt Demarest Business by the Numbers, Brian and Kim Walker's The Auto Repair Marketing Podcast, and Chris Cotton's Weekly Blitz. And once again, thank you so much for our sponsors. Dan, thank you for being one of those sponsors. Thank you for joining me as we get this show going and really re-emphasize these communication skills. And as always, dear listeners, listen up before you speak up. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Speak Up, Effective Communication with Craig O'Neil on the Aftermarket Radio Network. Follow Craig on your favorite podcast listening app and on his YouTube channel. Let him know what you'd like him to speak up about. Craig is all for advancing the automotive service aftermarket.